because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Excuse number
me,
one.
Chris. Wait.
Number two.
Chris.
Number three.
They said it would take. No, you're on number two.
No.
Chris.
Let us understand, North Vietnam cannot defeat or humiliate the United States. Only Americans can do that.
Hello, Guten Tag, Shalom, and Ni Hao. Welcome to episode something greater than 15, but less than 20, probably 19, who knows. Episode 19 of The Moral Minority. As always, I am your not-so-humble correspondent, Marcel, and this is my host, who is a host just like me in the same place, Dan. Say hi, Dan.
Hi, Marcel.
Good enough. What are we going to talk about, Dan? I ask, as though I didn't make the schedule. Well, the first thing we're going to talk about, for those of you who have missed us, in case you have been living in Iraq since the last episode, and also since before then, breaking news, COVID is still happening. It is October 2nd, as I record this, just to date the episode, and we're still experiencing what can't be called a quarantine because we're locking down sick people, and it can't really be called a lockdown because some of us are out there burning buildings. It is something. It is. We are experiencing some kind of government action that restricts our activities. It's not martial law because it's not really a war. Miscellaneous tyranny. Somebody could call it that. I don't know, Dan. What would you call this thing that is still happening?
Just being alone together.
Yes, although my life has returned to vague normality since I'm back in university. I'm going to classes, well, a class anyway. The only change now is that I need to now make appointments to go to the gym. That's the big change now. I got to ahead of time let them know that, which is actually frankly, that's actually been better. It's actually improved my gym attendance. The mere fact that I've had to pre-commit to someone else, even if it's some anonymous computer somewhere, has made me more reluctant to say, maybe later, it's 9 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, my life's basically the same. I just have more weapons and ammo than I had before.
Yeah. I know I had said
I don't understand why we're still pretending that this is a real thing when everyone knows it's a made-up situation.
I was thinking about this. I'm pretty sure if COVID were simply a vaccine, people would take it. That is to say, given the fatality rate of COVID being 0.0000401%.
Yeah.
Right. I'm pretty sure if a vaccine had that level of fatality, we would simply gladly take it and nobody would even think of not taking it. If the FDA said it was good, nobody has a mental model of probability at that scale. Don't pretend no, that's actually too much. Most vaccines have a fatality rate that's even lower than that. You don't know that.
Yeah.
Nobody walks around with an implicit knowledge of vaccine fatality rates. In fact, most people walk around with an anti-knowledge of that. They actually don't. If you say the phrase vaccine fatality rate, they actually don't want to hear it. So if I said, listen, I have a vaccine and it has a literal 1 in 1 million chance of killing you. I mean, yes, of course, people would say,
actually, if you frame it that way, they won't take it. If you frame it as it has a 999,000 out of a million chance of not killing you.
Exactly. People have a poor scale of probability when you say the same odds in a different way.
Yeah.
There's definitely no way they have a proper scale for those kinds of things. Only weirdos and people like Brian Kaplan will actually hear you say a probability.
That's a separate category from weirdos.
Right. Hear you say one probability and then say it in reverse the opposite way to make sure it's the same in either direction. Right?
Doesn't Brian Kaplan have 5 sons all named Brian?
No. Actually, I think he has.
They all named George Foreman or something like that.
He has a few sons and I think a daughter. You could tell you tell the average person, hey, did you know that 50% of marriages end in death? And then they'll need to stop and ponder for a few seconds, really minutes. Some people go their whole lives without understanding the joke. So anyway, this is still happening, and I don't really know. There's this sense among people now that I'm starting to see Tom Woods especially fall into this, where it's like, this person delivers a smackdown to the lockdowners. Like, we're not doing this anymore, please. This is not the kind of problem that will be solved through like repeated debate with your fellow citizens. I promise.
I'm pretty sure we just won Scott Atlas smackdown away.
Like, you just gotta keep doing it. It's like, he really.
And then the
showed
scales will fall from everybody's eyes, and they'll go, "Oh my god, I think this Fauci guy might not know what he's talking about."
Yeah, like we're already seeing mass flouting of the lockdowns or whatever we're calling this, right? And just look out the window, and you'll see plenty of mass gatherings, usually quite destructive ones. Nobody really cares. There's nothing to justify. What you really want to do is that you want, well, it's like they were saying, it's really about the haircuts, right? You want your local business, probably one that you own, to be at full capacity, and you think that you can just reason with your fellow citizens. Sometimes fellow citizens, they don't even live near you. Like it's not even like people in your county. You'll be like trying to reason with citizens who live in like different states, trying to justify to them why you should be allowed to take part in the division of labor. It's a very sick situation.
Cranky because you can't get a haircut, aren't you?
Yeah, I actually haven't gotten a haircut in since March. Actually, I look like my hair looks very bad.
Like
Actually, I've been shaving. I don't have a beard. I've been taking care of that, but my afro is coming in.
Mine too. Yeah.
I don't really know what to say about this. I really thought this would be over in July.
So yeah, I vacillated back and forth between thinking, "Oh, this will be over in a week because no one's going to do this," and there was a specific group of people that I thought they're not going to do this, and they were the ones that turned out not to do it, and I thought that would break the whole thing down. But then there was the other part of me that said, "No, this will go on forever because they're never going to undo this."
Yeah, like legions of barbarians running around torching our neighborhoods, but like wearing masks while they do it.
Yeah.
You'd think that would be the thing that got the right not to care, but we live in an anarcho-tyranny, so they also implicitly understand that if they violate these laws, since they have fixed addresses and taxable incomes, they understand that if they say, oh, well, if they're gonna, walk around to burn down my store, I might as well walk around to like operate the business that's in the store, since I have a right to use and occupy the space and they don't. And the answer to that is no. No, you don't.
Pretty much.
All people are doing is just talking about it. Like, this video owns the lockdown, right? It owns the people, the lockdown supporters. But the problem is, the kinds of people that make decisions, people like myself and not like Dan, that is to say, people who are on their way to being professional managerial classes. I mean, they can work from home, so they're not really feeling it, right? I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be in the ivory tower, ideally, as long as people don't listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
And, things like this won't affect me. And so it doesn't affect them.
No, and then people like me in the real America were left to just...
Yeah, the real America that composes a minority of it, by the way.
And then just live in the ruins of what you people create.
Yep. Hey, what do you mean, you people?
Whatever the thing was, whatever the split was, you came up with for us.
The professional managerial class.
Talking about you professional managerial classes.
Exactly.
With your riots and your looting.
Dan, you were mentioning even before this call and a book called Revolt of the Elite or something like that. And I know that guy meant to, and I just want to be clear, because you already described it to me, I'm not claiming I read it. Revolt of the Elites, and that our elites are now, contemptuous, disloyal cowards. But it's also a revolt of the elites because they're actually destroying things. This I think is like unheard of in as a historical episode. I don't think there has ever, I don't even think in the Bolshevik Revolution, you've ever really seen like basically the children of nobles or scholar gentry going out and just raising that which belongs to the peasants. Right? I can't really even imagine anything like it. And you can say, well, yes, but it's a children of the scholar gentry, and they may have the degrees, but they don't have, the jobs or, the homes or the families or basically any cultural markers of adulthood whatsoever. But they're still basically the lesser nobility class of our country. And by they, I mean we. Like, if you have a PhD, having a PhD or even a bachelor's degree in America, I mean, it's becoming increasingly common, but that still puts you...
Listen, Marcel, when the universities send their people, they're not sending their best.
No, they're definitely
They're
not.
bringing drugs, they're bringing riots, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
I don't necessarily assume that, honestly. I've seen some things.
There's always one. There's Brian Kaplan, who's
Yeah, there's people like Brian
totally
Kaplan.
wholesome.
Yes, exactly. A wholesome family man.
He's like a, whatever that phrase is, he's a cinnamon roll or whatever.
Oh yeah, a cinnamon roll too sweet and innocent for this world. Yeah,
too pure. He kind of is. That's why I'm always happy he's in his bubble being protected.
Yeah. And
He's a
speaking
bit of a
of
harmless flower.
and speaking of the universities sending their best or not sending their best, one thing I remembered back in March, I remember a lot of things from back in March. A lot of people don't, actually. A lot of people I've come to realize have really terrible memories. They can't remember what they said 30 seconds ago. They can't remember what you said 30 seconds ago. And they can't remember, therefore, what they were saying a week ago. And so it's completely pointless to get them to remember what, they had been saying, 1, 2, 3, 6 months ago is a different planet. That's a different person, right? That's not even that's not even the same entity. You might as well have been asking, what they said in a dream to ask them what they said 6 months ago. I remember educators, if you can call these people educators, were saying that they were worried about online schooling because they were afraid that, their right-wing, Proud Boy, conservative, whatever students would be recording or screen capping the class lessons, and then they would be sharing with Breitbart or whatever, sensitive discussions on critical race theory. And I thought that was actually a valid concern. Well, valid concern in both massive air quotes, but I thought that was a legitimate prediction. And we haven't really seen that, which is very strange. We haven't really seen any students, saying, yeah, here's my professor saying that America needed to be destroyed. And here's my professor saying this and that. I'm not really seeing it. And I'm kind of curious as to why that's happened.
Because who's recording these classes? Who's even going? What are these classes really? Well,
yeah, but I mean, surely you might as well try to get your professor saying something. I mean, are all these professors on their best behavior? Surely not. I mean, we're seeing a breakdown of the social order. Surely
do you think that when people are on camera, they don't behave better than when they're not? When they know they're on camera?
I guess, but I think you would have gotten at least one. You would have been able to whammy one professor for saying that destruction is good. Haven't really seen that.
Well, I mean, so what you're saying it's not happening then?
It could be. You're saying. Well, I mean, you're saying it's not happening.
Look, right? Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Okay, we know it's happening because we don't need evidence that it's happening. It's obviously happening. All right, and you know it, and everybody knows it. My guess would be that it's probably just not happening as much as it would have in the past. Because I think all these Zoom classes don't really have the passion and intensity that they used to have. I think it's probably, I would bet money that these classes are actually more substantive now than they were when they were in person. Because when you have to sit and give a PowerPoint presentation to a computer screen, you probably are going to be less passionate than when you're, like Mussolini on the balcony or something.
There's really this is so nothing to say about this quasi lockdown.
It is what it is.
Yeah, all of our listeners understand. There's nothing to. I have no insight to give you. I know some people will enjoy my takes. You must if you're listening to this podcast. You can't possibly be here for Dan. Waiting for me to give you some zinger to tell your neighbor about or your coworkers why the lockdowns are bad. There's nothing to tell them. As Stefan Molyneux would say, the time for arguments is past.
Yeah, I think that's it. Everyone's drawn their lines and they've taken their positions, and that's it. The people who are against this are not going to suddenly. I'm one of those people. There's literally nothing that could happen that would convince me at this point that actually we should have a lockdown. And I don't think the people who are for it, there's anything you could do to convince them. The best you could do is convince them that starting right now we don't need one anymore. Yeah, but the one we had, we definitely needed up until right now.
Yeah. Oh, I guess one insight, just in case somebody needs to hear this, Remember another thing somebody said in a dream, that is to say, in the before time, the long, long ago. I might have brought something